In the beginning, there was only chaos. There was no reason and no order within the universe. The vastness of the universe was entirely empty and devoid of all meaning.
At an undetermined point in time, the primordial gods were born from the chaos. They were the first meaningful beings within the universe. They could think, perceive, and feel, characteristics that were unprecedented within the universe.
No primordial god was greater than Lorak. A magnificent and innovative being, Lorak was unique among his peers in that he was willing to partake in activities that have never been thought of before. One of those activities was that of creation.
At one point, Lorak decided to create something. He disliked how the universe was at that moment, for it was empty and meaningless. Lorak wanted to fill it with something of merit. The great god then took a single cell from his left index finger and created a boulder from it. Lorak, amazed with what he had created, decided to build even more objects. Lorak began to take all of his individual cells and create rocks, stones, and pebbles from them.
Little by little, Lorak began to grow smaller. The more he created, the less of his bodily mass there was. Lorak did not stop, though. While in the midst of creating his rocks, Lorak stopped and scratched his head, questioning his creation. Although he loved the rocks, he found them to be lifeless and uninteresting. Lorak decided that he wanted to create things that moved and loved on their own.
And so, Lorak began to create living things. While in this process, Lorak began to diminish in size again. He donated entire fingers and toes to his creation, not forgetting a single piece of lost flesh. Lastly, Lorak created humans from the last of his essence.
The other gods were amazed at Lorak's feat. Inspired by this, the other primordial gods began to populate the earth. Vasht, a god with power over water, decided to fill the many caverns and craters of the world with water.
The gods rested when they believed that the world had been filled to the brim with interesting and beautiful life.
However, not all the gods enjoyed creation. Valem, a lesser primordial god, grew jealous upon seeing all the creation. She herself could not create anything, and so she was forced to watch the other gods create. Spurred by her envy, Valem planned to destroy all of creation. However, she could not do it alone.
Valem went to find other gods to help her on her quest. She first spoke to Akkad, dragon god of malice and decay. Valem requested that Akkad join her on her war against all creation. Akkad refused to help her, stating that there was no reason for him to destroy all of creation, for then there would be nothing left for him to destroy.
After speaking to at least 10 gods, Valem returned to her own domain. She combined the essence of all 10 gods to create the immortal dragons and the lesser dragons, savage beings that answered only to her. They were created from a mix of different elements of nature, and thus were vulnerable to very few items. Valem told the dragons to ravage the earth, and they did.
Akkad, who had learned his essence was used to create the evil dragons, began to grow angry. He hated it when anybody tricked him, and so, spurred by his anger and his embarrassment, he went to the goddess of war. The two combined their essences to create Jariel, the goddess of victory and valiance, and Jariel, the goddess of anger and revenge. The two were sent to destroy all of Valem's creation.
Jariel led all of creation, from animals to humans. Together, they pushed Valem's dragons towards the edge of the great world. During the final battle, they corralled Valem's creations onto an island called Avakar.
The island of Avakar was home to the Veil, which was the border between the world of reality and the god reality.
Ariel led the final push. All of creation gathered together to push the dragons into the veil. When the last dragon had been pushed behind the veil, Asahira sealed it shut. Valem, as punishment for her plans, was sealed and imprisoned on the other side of the veil along with her dragons.
After the great push, peace was restored to the world. All of creation was safe from harm for the time being. To ensure that Valem and her minions never made it back to the world again, Ashariah entrusted the humans of Avakar with keeping watch over the Veil. The humans of Avakar were not typical humans. They were the finest craftspeople and soldiers, the most fitting of all creation to guard the Veil. Ashariah also gave the humans of Avakar the Einingstein, a special stone that keeps the dragons and Valem trapped inside the Veil. Nobody could cross the Veil into the either world. Many, many years after the events of creation, after the thunderstorms start to subside, that is when Valem's promised day would be fulfilled. The power of the Einingstein will start to fade as cracks in the Veil seals will start to show. First, the physical world would be affected by all the anger and malice that will manifest itself to affect plants, animals, and water.
During the second stage of destruction, the veil would start to crumble enough to allow the means of Valem and her dragons to pass through. This is when the first skirmishes between the Talon Guard and the means of Valem would clash all around the island.
With the assistance of some of the gods, the Ravakari are able to hold back the tidal wave of monsters and undead that pour out of the veil to their certain doom to destroy all creation. With the gods' appearance and power, this will be the final step before the Inningstein overloading, with a pulse being sent out, disrupting the veil, causing it to shatter, allowing Valem and her dragonkin to rain havoc on the land.
While Valem and Ashariah are locked in battle, Valem tricks Ashariah into hitting the stone, allowing her dragons to leave the island, bringing about the destruction of the world. Ashariah kills Valem after that, but it's already too late, as Valem's dragonkin bring about the ultimate destruction of the earth.
With all of creation being destroyed, and the immortal dragons succeeding in their mission, they decide to leave to certain parts of the earth. However, unsatisfied with their victory over creation, they will begin to fight each other. Two dragons are in particular, Uvashak, the immortal dragon of acid and chaos, and Vushdim, the immortal dragon of poison and deceit, will fight each other. The two will fight over the continent of Norak, coating it in acid and poison. This causes the temperature of the continent to go from freezing to hot and humid. The fight accidentally causes the area to become habitable. Since it is now habitable, creation will gradually seep back onto the earth. Although creation has returned, the immortal dragons will return to finish creation, as they originally intended to do. The cycles between creation returning and the immortal dragons destroying will continue for billions of years. Eventually, creation will grow strong enough and be able to finally beat the immortal dragons, successfully ending the cycle.